Welcome back to the vlog. We're going to be off at Capital Casino playing in the 1-3 game. Before we get there, let's talk about something real quick. Some of you wanted to know about maybe having a timestamp of each and every hand I play. Basically, that's like a whole lot of work, you know, putting down the time every time you play a hand. But guess what? I'm going to do it for you guys because that's what you asked for. That's what you're going to get. So from now on, underneath my running total for the day, I'm also going to have a running timestamp. So you have a good idea about how many hands I folded and how many hands I play. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. As you can see by the timestamp up in the corner, it's been about 45 minutes since I've entered the game. Haven't had much playable, one small pot. And here I have pocket tens in the cutoff. Player to my right opens for a raise to 16. With two tens in his opening range, I decided to make it 65. Now the player on the button has been very limited in action also. He's a good, solid player, and he decides to call for the 65. And as I said, he might have played maybe one or two hands since I've been at the table, so either he has been card dead or he's been very selective, or both. So we're going to go heads up to a flop with 153 in it. The range I'm putting him on is like ace, king, ace, queen, possibly jacks or queens. So when the flop comes 10 high, I'm really thinking that I'm not going to get too much action from ace king or ace queen, but I might get a lot of action from someone with jacks or queens. So I decided to size up just a little bit on my c-bet. I made it 80. Thinking that 50 would probably be best because he folded quickly and no additional action. About 20 minutes later, I pick up another playable hand with two queens on the button. I get a limp from a middle position player. I raise to 20. It's folded back around to that limper who puts in the call. So we're going heads up to a flop that comes king, 8, deuce, all diamonds. I do have the queen of diamonds in my hand. My opponent checks and I put in a c-bet for 15. And he put in a quick call. And the way he did it has me a little bit concerned. So the turn card comes as a 9 of hearts. He checks again quickly. And I'm just going to pot control here and check it back and see what he does on the river. River card is a good one for my hand. It's king of clubs. Makes it less likely that my opponent has a king. But now my opponent fires out for $150. Yeah, $150 into a $74 pot. So he's 2x in the pot. I mean, what could he have? I mean, this is a ridiculous sizing if he's bluffing. I think he has a value hand. He either has a king or better. Maybe he flopped a flush and was planning on trapping me on the turn. Anyway, I think I just have to let this one go and move on to the next hand. I have a very liable tell that the player who just opened for $10 under the gun has a very big hand, either aces or kings. Got a couple callers, so I put in the call with my set mining opportunity with a pair of nines. No set, I'm not going any further. Flop comes out, jack 7-6. I miss it. My plan is to check fold. I check. He bets 15. The other two players put in the call. I considered calling just to take one more off, but I decided just to let it go. I was afraid one of the other players might make a straight. It turned out that the other player under the gun had aces. There's a $6 straddle. I opened for 25 under the gun plus one with ace king suited. The good player right directly behind me, who hasn't been very active, puts in the call. It has me very concerned. He has probably been as card dead as I am. Anyway, we go see a flop of king, jack 10. Pretty good flop for my hand, but very good flop for his calling range. He could have jacks, tens, ace, queen, king, queen, hands like that. So I decided to slow this one down and just play it as a check call because he would probably repot me with ace, king. But pocket jacks, pocket tens, and ace queen are definitely just his calling size. Turn card's an 8. I check. He checks it back. I'm fairly certain I'm ahead at this point. I thought about going for some value, but I didn't think he'll pay me off. I roll over my ace king. He folds and said he had ace jack. I'm in the big blind with 2 queens. The player from middle position opens for $20 on a straddle pot. I really should be 3-betting this. There's really no excuse for just calling, but that's what I did. I just called. And the straddler also puts in the call. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with $61 in the pot. The flop, well, it's a good one. It comes ace, king, queen. So I flop bottom set when someone has the lead on the raising. So I figured he was going to bet, and he does. He bets out $35. I thought about raising because there's 2 to a flush out there and some straights, but since I played this hand so bad from the get-go, I figure what the heck, let's continue to play it bad by just calling. Planning to check raise this, I check it over to him. I figured he would bet any ace, and he checks it back. So he doesn't really have an ace. And now 4 hearts comes. I decided to put out a small blocking bet, trying to get some value from maybe a king, but yeah, I really screwed this one up. I'm on the button with pocket 5s. Someone raised to 15 after a $6 straddle. I decided to put in the call, trying to set mine. I get a couple callers from the blinds behind me, and then the straddler decides that he's going to play for it all. He had like $120-something in his stack. Yeah, I can't call. He turned out that he did have ace king, but my 5s were good. About 3 hours into the session, I look down at king jack suited, open for 15. I get one call up from a player who seems to be a little bit on the timid side, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. Flop comes out, not bad. It comes out with 2 spades. So on 8-7-3, I decided to c-bet for 15. I think if I c-betted for 20, he would have instantly folded this, because he looked like he wanted to fold and then decided, for 15, I'll give it one more call. Turn card comes is a ace of diamonds. Good for my range, not good for my opponent's calling range, because what would he be calling him with? Anyway, I decided to bet my range for $30, and it was clear that he made a pair of aces when he called, and his stack isn't really big enough for me to try to blow him off a weak ace or any ace. So I just decided to give up here. He rolls over ace deuce of clubs. There were a $6 straddle and a couple of people limped in for the 6. I'm in the small blind with an ace 5 offsuit. I just decided this is a good spot to put in a little squeeze. I don't think anyone has much. So I squeeze. They all fold. We pick up a small pot. It's folded to me in the low jack, and I have 2 7s. Decided to open for 15. I get a caller from the player in the cutoff and the player on the button. So we're going to go 3 ways to this flop with $49 in the pot. And we get a flop that comes king, king, deuce with 2 diamonds. So if no one has a king, I kind of like my pair. And so I decided to bet it and fired out for $20. I get 2 calls rather quickly. So I'm thinking that one of them has a flush draw and maybe one of them has a king. Turn card comes is a 5 of diamonds. Not very good. Wish it was a 7 of diamonds. That would be wonderful. I check it over. The player in the cutoff decides to bet for $50. Now he's a vlog watcher and supporter, and he has a pretty good game overall. And when he bets this, I'm thinking that he has a flush. Pretty sure he has a flush. And the other player took a while and then made a fold. So I don't think he would fold a king. So I stare at it for a while thinking, is there any way I can take this away from a vlog supporter? And after a few seconds, I decided that it's just his time to win. So I muck it, he drags it. He did flash that he had the 3 of diamonds. So probably the ace 3 was in his hand. There's one limper in front of us. We got king jack of diamonds. Putting a raise to 25, just trying to clear it out. There's one player with a short stack. Player behind me cold calls the 25, and so does the short stack, who actually went all in for another $5. So only option I have is to toss in $5, and we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with one player all in. Flop comes out pretty bad for our particular hand. It's 3 deuce deuce. I figure there's no point in betting this. There's on a dry side pot, so I check it. The player behind me checks, and we see a turn card of a 5 of clubs. Doesn't help me. I check again, and now the opponent behind me puts out a rather juicy sized bet. I thought maybe he had something like ace 4 suited and made a wheel. So I get out of the way. The other player turns over ace 5, and the opponent behind me called for $25 with 6-4 suited. There were a couple limpers, and the player on the button puts in a race to $6. I look down at king queen suited in the small blind, decide to make it 30. One of the limpers puts in the call, and so does the player on the button. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with $99 in the pot. Flop comes out 8-8-3 with 2 clubs. So we got 2 overs and a flush draw, and no one should really hit that range very hard. So I decided to continue and use a decent sizing. So I bet out for 70. This flop texture really shouldn't hit my opponents unless they have a flush draw, an 8, or some sort of pocket pair. So I expect them all to fold, and that's exactly what happens. They fold, I take down a small pot, and off to the next one. All right, almost 4 hours into the session, I look down at 2 6s from the hijack. There was a bunch of limpers. I decided to limp along, trying to set mine. It comes back around to the player in the small blind, who makes it 36. I was probably just going to end up folding this, but then the other limpers decided to put in a call. And I go, it's really hard not to accept these wonderful odds. I think if I call, the player behind me will call, and that will make it a 5-way pot. And with 2 6s, that'll be worth it if I flop a set. So I put in the call, so does the player behind me, and we're going to go 5 ways to this flop with 185 in the center. Flop comes out 5-5 deuce with 2 spades. So I got an overpair. I got a straight flush draw if you really want to look at it that way. The opponents check over to me, and I'm thinking, I got to protect this hand. I got to bet a decent size. So I decided to go for $90. About half size pot, and I think I can get most overcards to fold out. If I get called, it's probably from someone with a middle-sized pocket pair that didn't want to bet it on the flop themselves, or someone with a flush draw. Anyway, the players end up folding out, all but the one in the +1 position, who had a short stack and was getting excellent odds to take one off with just overcards. So he ended up putting in the call, which I don't blame him for. I would probably do that with just about any 2 overcards. And we see a run out of a deuce of hearts and 8 of diamonds. He says he missed, so I show my 6s, and we take down this final pot of the day. All right, outside Capital Casino. Just got done playing some 1-3. Long day. Spent probably 4.5 hours playing, and really didn't have too much to play with. Got into a couple interesting spots. Didn't play a couple hands very well, but managed to book a win, which is always nice when you're card dead and things just don't seem to go your way. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next time. Until then, good luck at the tables. I had a short session the following day. Not enough to make a complete vlog out of, but still some interesting hands that I decided to make this a bonus feature for today's video. So here they are. There's an aggressive player in the +1 position who has been opening up a little bit too wide in my opinion. So when I looked down at 8-7 of spades in the cutoff, I decided that this would be an excellent opportunity to put in a 3-bet. For my sizing, I decided on $70. The player in the +1 position has a very deep stack, so if he folds, I'm okay with that. If he decides to play along, I'm all right with that too. I have initiative, I have position, and I think he knows that I am a fairly tight player in general and will give me a little bit of respect. Flop comes out Queen, Jack, Deuce, all diamonds. So we completely whiff. We have absolutely nothing here, no real backdoors, nothing. He checks it over to me, and I decided, well, with my image and my range, I should be able to get this one through if he doesn't have a diamond. So I make a bet for $60. He thinks for a brief second and then lets it go. So image does help. Here I got king, queen of diamonds in the low jack. There was one limper. I raised to 15. I end up getting 2 callers. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. That comes out king, queen, 5. Yeah, we smash it. But I'm not going to slow play this. If they have something that they want to draw to, they're going to have to pay $20 for it. They both fold very quickly, so they had air. Player in middle position opens for a raise to 15. I look down at 2 aces in the hijack. Definitely going to be 3-betting this, make it 45. Only the player in the middle position puts in the call. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of Jack 10-3. There's a lot of kind of hands that connect with this in his raising range, like ace king, ace queen, king queen. So I'm going to continue, put out a bet about half pot. He thinks for a moment, flashes that he has pocket 9s, and just lets it go. There are 5 players who limped in, and I looked down at ace king in the big blind, put in a raise to $30, hoping just to take down the blinds or get it heads up with one opponent. Everybody folds except for the player in the low jack, who is a decent player. Maybe not as creative as some, but I figured he must have a real hand in order to put in the call. So we're going to go heads up to this flop with $75 in the pot. Flop comes out Jack 10-4 with 2 spades. So not a great flop for our particular hand, but we do have the lead, and I decided let's go ahead and bet this. I got 2 overs in the gut shot. So I put out a bet for $40. He doesn't think too long before putting in a call. So I got to be very wary. He's most likely has either a flush draw or at least a pair of jacks or 10s. Turn card comes as a 6 of spades. That completes the flush. Doesn't help our hand. Here, I think I'm just going to have to give it up. I decide to check. If he makes a bet, I'm probably going to fold. He does bet $50. Even though he's giving me a good price, I think I might be drawing dead. And our next hand, we are on the button with king 10 of clubs. There was a couple limpers. I make it 20. I get 1 call from the player in middle position. And we go see a flop of king 8-3 with 1 club. Good flop for our hand, but it's also a good flop to check back. I got to check back a couple strong hands in my range so I stay balanced. Turn card comes as a 7 of spades. Yeah, I still got the same 2 cards. I'm going to be calling. If he has a king, he might have a better kicker. If he has some sort of draw, a deuce of clubs should not complete it. He fires out again, this time for 30. Very easy call on my part. I don't know what took me so long, but I ended up putting in the money. And he ended up showing that he had the 9-10 of spades. So that free card gave him the biggest draw in the world, and he bricked out, and I got an extra 30 off of him when he decided to bluff. So after 2 hours of play, I decided to leave. For the 2-day total, I got $270 that first day, $140 the second, $410. I guess that's not bad. It's better than losing, but I wasn't really pleased with my play. I think that first hand I played on the first day with pocket 10s, I really should be betting a smaller size there. Even if I think he has queens or jacks, I think that I should bet the size that he might want to take one off with, say, an ace king or ace queen. And then when I had the pocket queens from the blinds and it was raised, I really should be 3-betting that basically every single time. So not really happy with that. Made a couple other mistakes. I really need to get my game in gear. Headed off to Las Vegas this weekend, planning on playing in the tag team event, and also I plan on playing a lot of cash games. So I really need to be focused. I need to be playing my best game, and I'm not there yet. And I hope to be there by this weekend. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, good luck at the tables.